Hello and Happy New Year, everyone. I hope that everyone started 2023 amazingly. And what better way to continue this year than with tonight's Oxygen XML Live webinar that is titled Validating XML and JSON Documents Using Oxygen Scripting. My name is Alim Belu, and I will be your host for today's live event. And in just a few moments, I will be bringing out to our virtual stage none other than Octavian Nadolu, project manager at Syncrosoft, who for sure you are familiar with from our previous events. With the latest release of the Oxygen suite of products, additional support was added for validating XML and JSON files via Oxygen XML scripting. And in this webinar, Octavian will cover details about this newly implemented validation scripting support, as well as showing you examples of how to use it efficiently. By the end of this webinar, you will know how to validate files or directories from a command line interface and check that your documents are valid from an integration server, as well as having the possibility to generate reports in several formats such as text, XML, JSON, or an HTML visual format. And we won't be stopping there, as we will also be looking at how you can use transformation or comparison scripts. So I'm definitely excited for this presentation, and I can guess that you are as well. So let me quickly recap some useful information that you need to know about today's event. As always, all of our webinars are being recorded, so is this one. After the webinar comes to an end, the recording will be made available on the event page on our site, oxygenxml.com, along with Octavian's presentation slides and samples, and also the recording will be uploaded on our YouTube channel titled Oxygen XML, which you might be accustomed with by now. And if not, as always, I encourage you to take a look at it afterwards just to see the impressive library of tutorials that are available there for you. And speaking of the presentation slides, Octavian was kind enough to upload them right now. So you can go to your GoToWebinar interface in the Handouts tab to download them for yourself. Another important aspect is that as we go along, we encourage you to ask us questions by using the questions panel from the GoToWebinar interface, where two of our other colleagues, Teo Templaro and Florin Nica, will assist us by answering to all of your questions in real time. And of course, we will be addressing those questions again at the end in a Q&A session, along with the latest entries from you for the benefit of everyone joining us today. So with this being said, let me give a big welcome back to Octavian Nadolo. Hi, Octavian.
Hi, Aline. Thank you for the introduction. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this new webinar. So today we'll discuss about the Oxygen scripting product, and we'll focus on the validation support that we added latest in this product. I'll show you some examples how you can use this and the support that we provide for validating documents. So this is the agenda of the presentation. We'll discuss about the Oxygen validation support in general. Then I'll tell you a few things about the Oxygen scripting tools. And we'll start to look at a validation script, how you can generate reports. We'll see examples, and we'll take a look also at the transformation command line script and comparison and merge command line script. So what is a validation? Validation is a process for checking if a document conforms both well-formed and are also valid. Well-formed means that it follows the structure of the document, so the definition of the document. In XML, it should follow the XML specification. For JSON, it should follow the JSON specification. For YAML, the YAML specification, and so on. Then if you want to check if a document is also valid, you need to check if it's conform with a specific schema. And here you can use different schemas to check documents. For XML, you have XSD, DTD, RelaxNG, and for JSON, you have JSON schema or for YAML. In Oxygen, we provide support to check if the documents are well formed for different type of documents, XML, JSON, YAML, but also other types. We provide also validation against the schema. You can use also validation scenarios, so you can group multiple validations in a validation scenario, and then you can also share this in a project or share with other people just by extracting them, exporting them to a separate file or sharing the project. You have support also for modules validation. So if you have a module and there are multiple files that are referring that module, we automatically validate the module in the context of the files from where this is referred. There is also batch validation support, so you can select from project multiple files or folders and validate them and generate a report. And also validation as you type. So when you open a document, you'll get as you type the errors presented in the document and also in the results view. We have support for different file types. So we have support for validating XML documents, and you can validate them with XSD, DTD, RelaxNG, NVDL, or Schematron. And for some of the XML document types, we provide built-in schemas, such as DITA, Dogbook, TI, and others. These documents are automatically validated in conformity to the schemas that are defined in these document types. Then we have also validation for JSON and YAML, and here you can also validate with JSON schema, but you can also use Schematron if you want to create more complex rule with dependency checks between different parts of the JSON or YAML document. And also here we provide some built-in schemas for OpenAPI, Async API, or JSON LD. We provide support for validating schemas, all the schemas from XML, but also JSON schema. Support for validating XSLT, XQuery, or XProc. Also for HTML and HTML5, XHTML, and CSS. You can also validate Markdown with Schematron or VSDL. You can find more about all the documents that are supported in Oxygen, but also in the Oxygen scripting product by going to this link that I added here. Then you can also use different engines. So for XML, you can choose between Saxon, libxml, or Cerces. For JSON YAML, you can use the Everett engine. For HTML and XHTML, CSS, you can use W3C No Validator. For XSLT, there are also other engines that can be used. XSD also can be used, can be validated with Saxon or Cerces. So you can use different engines, but you can also customize and create your own custom validator just by implementing the support that we provide for a custom validation. Before I'll go forward, I have a question for you here. What type of validation do you use or intend to use in Oxygen? And I added some of them here. XML validation, maybe with DTD, XSD, such as DITA Dogbook does, or JSON YAML validation with JSON schemas, or validation with Schematron, or validation of schemas. Or in case you intend to use or use for other type of validation, you can check this other, and you can use the questions panel to provide us more details. So we'll get the answer from you, and then we'll share the answers at the end, so everyone will take a look at the results. I think we can stop the poll. So most of you are using or want to use for XML validation, but there are some of you that are using for JSON or schematron validation. And also a lot of you that are using for schemas validation for different type of schemas. So thank you for your response. I think we can go further. Let's discuss about the Oxygen scripting product. So this product allows you to automate run utilities from command line interface or from a continuous integration server. And there are different type of utilities that can be used. Most of the features from Oxygen are available also in the scripting, and you can check them on our website. You have here information about the tools that we provide in the scripting, but also in our user manual, there is a page where you have all the tools that we have for scripting and information about each one. In this presentation, we'll focus on some of the tools that we provide. So we provide validation that we added recently. We added in the latest version. We provide support for transforming documents. This was added also recently, and comparison and merge support that was added. A conversion between different type of files, so you can convert between JSON, YAML, DITA, and other type of documents. You can generate documentation for XSLT, XSD, and so on. You can format and indent. You can use refactoring actions, and there are a lot of tools that can be used. There are some webinars that were already made. So if you want to check, there's this webinar that covers the XML processing with Oxygen XML Scripting, and there's another one for the comparison and merge support. I have another question for you. What Oxygen scripting tools do you use or intend to use? And added here as responses the validation, transformation, compare and merge, or if you are using other tools, you can add it in the questions panel if you want to share the information with us. I think most of you will use the validation because you attended to this webinar to know this. But also the other tools are very useful, and the scripting product comes packed with all of them. So I think we can stop. So yeah, most of you are interested or are using the validation, but also the transformation. It's another use case for you, and the compare and merge and generate documentation. So thank you for your feedback. I think we can go further. So let's discuss about the validation script. So the validation script allows you to validate files and directories from a command line interface or from an integration server. And it allows you to generate reports, validation reports in different formats. So you can generate in a text format, JSON, XML, or HTML. The format depends on your needs, so you can choose between different formats depending on how you want to process later the result. And we'll see some examples. There are different options, so you can choose to validate the files with a certain schema that is specified in the command line. You can choose to validate with the schemas that are associated internally in the document, or you can choose to validate with the default scenarios that Oxygen provides in the document types. Or you can choose to validate with a specific custom scenario. So you can create a custom scenario, then export this and use it to validate your documents. The command line, it's something like it has the following parameters. So it has the file or directory path, which it's a mandatory argument. So you need to specify what file or directory you want to validate. The rest of the parameters are optional, so you can specify a schema in case you don't want to use the associated schema default in Oxygen. You can specify a scenario, and this can be either a scenario that is default in Oxygen or a custom scenario. You can specify a scenario path, and this can be either the scenarios exported from Oxygen or a project file that contains the scenario. Then you can generate, you can specify to save the result in a report file, and you can specify the report file format, which is text, XML, JSON, or HTML. Then we have also some filters. You can specify to include the files to be validated. And then we can also specify to exclude some of the files or to exclude some of the folders if you are not interested to validate them, such as SVN or Git folders that are just containing information about these systems. Then you can also print additional information in console about the validation script process, and you can also display the help using this command. I will show you, I already downloaded here Oxygen script product, and if I display here all the files from this folder, you get all the files, all the commands that can be used. In this presentation, we use the validation. So we'll say that we want to validate, and we can display the help of the validation, typing -h, and we can get here the parameters that can be set for this validation command line, description of the parameters, and examples, notes about the parameters. We get a lot of information here in case you want to start to use this. Okay, let's see some examples how you can use exactly this command line. So let's say you want to validate an XML file and you want to have a specific scenario to use. So you create a scenario for this file in Oxygen and you want to use it from the scripting to validate this automatically. So how you can do this, let's go in Oxygen. We have here in the XML folder, we have a file, XML file, which I want to validate with this schematron schema. So I can create a validation scenario. I already had one. So is this one the validation scenario? Just a simple scenario, has the input to be the current file and specify the schema to be validated with. And I just can export this scenario. So I can just select the scenario that I want to export. I already have a file here. I will overwrite it. So I will just export this file. And now I can use it from the scripting to validate my file automatically. The file contains information about the scenario, the name of the scenario, the type of validation, and so on. So we want to validate this file. I will copy the location of the file. And let's go to the command line. I'll clear the console. We'll say that we want to validate. We want to validate this XML file. The scenario file is the one that we exported here. I'll copy its location. And the scenario name that I want to use is XML file scenario, the one that I've created. And if I press enter, it runs the validation with the schema that I set in the scenario, and then it prints the result in the console. By default, the results it's in text mode, and you have here a summary, of the validation and all the validation problems that are reported by the validation engine. And if we go here, we see that the report contains the file, but also information about each problem. So you have the scenario name that was applied, the schema that was applied, the engine name, the type of severity. In case you have an ID for the rule, in this case it prints also the ID of the rule, the description, and also the location of the problem. So you have all this information generated automatically each time this is validated. We've seen how you can validate with a scenario, custom scenario. Now let's see how you can validate a folder, but this time I will use a default scenario from Oxygen. So I'll not set a scenario file, I'll just use the default DITA scenario from Oxygen. And I want to validate this DITA folder. Automatically will validate all the files from the folder. I'll go deep in the folders. And I want to have the report in XML format. So let's go in Oxygen. We have here this DITA folder that we want to validate. I'll copy its location. I'll go in the console, say validate, and then I'll paste the location of the folder. The scenario name will be DITA. And then I want to have the report file type in XML. So now the documents from this folder will be validated, and it will generate a report in XML format instead of the text format. And we have here the report. At the end, we have a list with all the files that are valid from my folder. And then at the beginning, you have a list with the files with problems, the total number of differences. Then for each problem, you have the location of the file with problems and the problems from that file. So you can also validate a folder automatically with the scenario that is in Oxygen, and you can generate this report in XML format. The XML format will help you maybe to process it more easily. You can associate maybe a CSS and publish it on a web, or you can transform it with XSLT and so on. So this is useful in cases you want to process this information somewhere later. And you have here the total number of files that were validated, the number of problems the number of files with problems, and the total number of problems. And then for each of them, you have information about the problem and also the location of the problem, the scenario used, the document type, and so on. Another use case is when you want to validate, but you want to specifically use the association from the project. So let's say you want to validate a JSON document, and we associated some scenarios to the files or some schemas to the files, and we want to use these associations. So you can specify directly the scenario file, and Oxygen will automatically use the association from the project, and you'll just validate directly with this association. In this case, I want to generate also the report in JSON format to see also how this format looks like. So let's go in Oxygen. So we have here JSON folder, and we have different type of documents here. This is a JSON LD, and it has the associated scenario is the JSON LD scenario. Then we have this Open API document, and for this the association it's the Open API 3.1 validation scenario. For this one, if we go to the configure validation, we see that we have a product scenario associated, which uses as validation the product schema that it's near here. So it can create multiple association just by configuring it here in the project, and these are saved automatically in the XPR. And now I can use this XPR to validate the documents similarly as Oxygen does. So I'll copy the location of the folder that I want to validate. Let's clear the console, and then we'll use the validate action. I'll type the folder that I want to validate. Then the scenario file should be the project. Copy the location of the project. And then I want to have the report in JSON format. So report file type is JSON, and then press enter. So all the files from the JSON folder will be validated according to the associations. And we have here the files that are valid from my folder. And then we have a list with the problems that were found in this document. And now you see that the report is in JSON format, and this format allows you to process it more. Maybe if you have JavaScript to process later the report, it's easy to get this format and get the information from here. So you have similarly, you have the number of differences, it's a property value. You have an array with all the files that are with problems, and then for each file you have these incidents. Where you have the problem with severity, description, and also the location of the problem. Another example is if you want to generate an HTML format. So in case you want to publish the report somewhere or send the report to someone in HTML format, you can also choose to save this in a file. So you can say this report use -rf command and specify the location of the report file. In this case, I will validate an XML folder, and I will use the default association from Oxygen. So I will not specify any project or scenario. I will just use the default validation, how Oxygen determines depending on the association that are made in the file or with document types. So let's say you want to validate this XML folder, and here we have different type of documents. Some of them have association in the file, some of them are VSDL file or schemas, and will be validated accordingly to what type of documents are here. And let's say I want to validate this. I'll copy the location. I will go to the console, and then I will paste the XML folder here, minus report file rf. I'll paste the location where I want to save. So I want to save it in the same folder and say report.html, and report file type I want to be HTML. I press enter. So now all the documents from this folder will be validated. The schemas will be determined from the document or from the association. See that there is nothing printed in the output now. And if we go in this folder, we get here the report HTML file. Can open it in Oxygen. And we have here all the information about this validation. There's a table that contains the validated file, and then for each validated file you have the reported problems. You can also open this in the browser. It looks something like this in the browser. So you can send this report to someone. You have also links here that points to the file that was validated, to the schema, location, the problem ID, And you can also customize this report if you want. So this is another use case where you want to validate the documents, but also save the report in a file. You can save it in HTML if you want to send it to someone and check it visually, or publish it somewhere. You can also save the other formats in files, so you can save the XML or JSON format. In this case, I saved only the XML format. For the validation script, we created also a GitHub template, and we made a continuous validation of the project. So we automatically validate the files from this GitHub template on each commit, and we generate a report, and then we publish this on the GitHub pages. You can in this project, the validation runs on a specific folder from the project, but you can configure to run on different files or different folders from your project. So this is an open source project. It's available on our GitHub page, and you have here all the information that you need in order to use this template. You just need to click this button here to create a new repository with this template, and then you can customize it by adding the files that you want to validate here in this validation folder, or maybe you can use another type of folder. In order to use this validation script, you need to get a license, either trial or a scripting license, and add it to the secrets. You have all the information here, how you can use this and how you can use the action. The action automatically starts every time someone makes a commit or a change, a pull request in this repository, but you can also run this workflow on a specific folder. So you have the support to validate, for example, a specific folder. If you want to validate only the DITA folder from the validation folder, you can run the workflow on this folder, and this will generate a report. You can also customize the workflow if you want. The workflow is available in the project, and you can change the folder default that it's checked. You can change the files that are validated directly here. And the report it's added on the GitHub page. So if you clone the repository, it will add it in your GitHub page repository. In my case, it's added on this Oxygen XML, and it's a simple HTML report that we generate using the scripting. So every time a modification is made in the project, you get this report and you get the problems that are in the project. We created also a GitHub action. This is useful if you want to validate your documents in an existing GitHub project. So if you already have a project and you don't want to use this template, you can use the action that we provide in the GitHub marketplace, and you can just integrate it in your workflow, or you can create an workflow from zero. This action it's available on the GitHub marketplace, and I'll show you an example. So I have here a sample project that contains some XML documents, some schematrons, and for example, I can go in the actions tab of my project, and here I can set up a new workflow. If you already have an workflow, you can add the action there. Then I can search for the Oxygen action. And I have here the action from the marketplace. You have here information about how to use these. If you go to the actions page You have also some workflows to run manually the validation or to automatically run the validation. Let's say you want to create a workflow to run manually the validation on your project. I'll copy this and go back to my workflow. I'll paste here. So this requires a validation folder to be validated, and then this starts the action to validate the document and publish the result. I can set also a name, let's say validate for this workflow, and I'll commit this new action on my project. So now if I go here in the action, I have this workflow to run a validation manually, and I can click this run workflow and provide here a folder. In my case, I have this quick fix folder that I want to validate, and this will start the validation automatically. I can also configure to publish this on the my GitHub pages. For this, I need to go in the settings, pages, and here I just need to specify that I want to publish from the GitHub pages website, and automatically will be the results will be published here in the project GitHub pages. So the action runs automatically and will publish the workflow. So this is another use case. If you already have a GitHub project, you can add this action there, and will validate and will generate a report. And you can also configure this depending on your needs. For validation, there is also another tool specific for DITA. So you can use the DITA validate and check for completeness if you want to validate DITA maps and or DITA Open Toolkit projects. This has specific settings that can be set for DITA validation, and you can find these settings in the DITA folder. Let me open a DITA map. You'll find these settings here in the DITA completeness check dialog, and you just can export these settings here. Then you can use it to run this validation on your DITA project. You can find also more information in the user manual. There is also a workflow that was created by our colleague Radu Coravu for the blog that automatically runs the DITA completeness check on the blog, which is that is in DITA format. So you can check also this workflow if you want to see how you can use it in a continuous integration server. Then we have also the transformation script. This was added in the latest version. The transformation script allows you to run transformation scenario, the scenarios that are used in Oxygen, and you can transform XML with XSLT in different formats, HTML, PDF, EPUB, and other formats. You can use it also to transform JSON or YAML documents using XSLT. And this command, it's very simple. It has an input file that you want to transform, then a scenario name that you want to use that is either a default scenario from Oxygen, or if you want to use a custom scenario, you need to provide a scenario file. And in this case, also a scenario file can be an export of the scenario or can be a project file. So if you want to check all the scenarios from Oxygen, there is this project scenario view that presents you all the scenarios that are default in Oxygen and that can be used also for the scripting part. You can use also the web help scenario, but in this case you need also a web help license. We created also a transformation script GitHub template. So you can also use this template in case you want to transform automatically your files from a GitHub repository, and these are published automatically on the GitHub pages, and the transformation runs on a specific file from the project. Let's take a look at the action. So it's similar with the validation action. You need a scripting license and just some simple steps to configure it. And then you can run the transformation on a specific file. If I go here in the actions, I can use this run transformation script. The action will run automatically on this file, the DITA map, and will publish in HTML5, the report in HTML5. But you can also configure here, specify another folder to run on it, so you can run this manually. The action, the template also can be changed from this workflow, and you can customize here the default file that the validation, the transformation runs on. So in case you want to transform, you can use this template and then transform your files automatically. Each time someone makes a commit, will generate the report and will publish it on the GitHub pages. In my case, it's published here. Have this gear pump HTML view with the files from the DITA. Then let me tell you a few things about the compare and merge file script. So this is another tool that we added in the latest versions. This allows you to compare two files or two files against a base and generate a report in YAML, JSON, XML, or HTML format. It knows all the algorithms that are defined in Oxygen, so it has support to validate XML documents with different type of algorithms, but also you can compare JSON or YAML documents or other type of documents. The comparison can generate different formats. In HTML, you have a nice view where the modifications are presented. We have the total number of modifications, the incomings, outgoings, and then the modifications from each file are highlighted in this HTML page. I will show you also have here a comparison already made. So I have these files compared, two files against a base file. And we have here the modifications that with blue are the incoming, with gray are the outgoing. You can also filter them from here. So if you want to see only the outgoing changes, only the incoming changes, or all the changes from this comparison. Then you can also choose to merge the files. So you will merge these two documents and will generate a merge file in the destination folder. And you'll get also a report with the changes found in document, and in case there are conflicts, it will display that the merge could not be performed. You can find more information about this tool on our in our user manual with all the information that we use for setting this comparison. We have a lot of options to include document types, to different algorithms, and so on. And there are also some presentation that we made on this part, so I'll not go too much into this. Then you can also compare directories. So if you have two directories, you can compare and generate a report in also in YAML, JSON, XML, or HTML format. You can compare two directories against a base, or two directories one to each other. Then you can generate this nice HTML report where you have the files from the left directory and the right directory displayed in side by side, and you can see the conflicts, you can see the incoming changes, the outgoing changes, and you can also filter them. I have a report also for the directory comparison here generated. So you can see that the number of differences are presented here, and you have the outgoings, the incoming files, the incoming changes, the modifications that the files that are modified in both places but are not in conflicts, and also the conflicts here. And you can also click on this to see the actual problem. So you can see where are the conflicts, for example, in the file. So it makes also the comparison directly on the files from the directory, and you can also check these changes just by clicking on these links here in the middle. So this is useful when you want to check different versions, for example, of your projects, and generate a report with the changes between the projects and send it to someone, or generate it on a repository. We intend to have probably a GitHub template also for this part to compare different type of documents and to see how you can generate a report. Then you can also merge this automatically, so you can run a merge operation between these documents, and this is also XML aware, but you can also use for other type of documents, and you'll get a report with the files that were merged, the problems that were found during the merge in case there are conflicts between them. Of course, you can find more information about this in the user manual, and you have also here a lot of options that can be used to compare documents, and samples, how to use them, and also some resources and links to the webinar and presentations. So as a conclusion, we provide complete support for validating files and directories for XML, JSON documents, but also for YAML, HTML, for schemas, and also for XSLT, XQuery. And you can use this validation script to do this validation automatically for your projects. The validation that it's in Oxygen can be run very easily on the scripting part, and you can generate the reports in different formats. You can filter the files that are validated, and you can also use the document type scenarios that we provide in Oxygen, and the transformation, the validations that we provide in Oxygen. There are also other scripts. We took a look at the transformation and compare and merge support, but there are also others that you can check, and they are very useful when you have projects and you want to automatically make conversions, transformations, and validation of them. Of course, we have also a lot of future plans. So we intend to improve this validation script. We intend to improve the support that we provide right now. Maybe work a little bit also on the report at the core of the validation. Maybe provide other options. Depends also on the feedback that we get from you. And we intend to have also other templates for scripting. So you can usually use the scripting support just by clone these templates, take these templates. Maybe actions that can be integrated very easily in your GitHub projects. But you can also use in other continuous integration systems. You can take a look at what we implement it on GitHub and use it in other continuous integration systems. We intend to have also other scripting support for JSON schema and OpenAPI. We intend to generate documentation also automatically to add the script there. We intend to add also the XSD to JSON schema script, but also other tools. And of course, also your feedback is welcome here. So please tell us what are your needs, what are your plans, and we can see what we can do. So I have another question for you here. What features are the most important for you? I added here some of them, the ones that I presented with improve validation script, the support to generate templates, and the support for GitHub templates and actions for the scripting, the JSON schema documentation, XSD to JSON schema script, or if you want other scripts, other support that we have in Oxygen also on a continuous integration system, you can add this in the questions panel. So we'll leave for a few moments. Everyone will respond to this poll, and then we'll share the results with you. So yes, I see that most of you are interested in the scripting, validation scripting part, but also in the templates. We'll work more on this. There are some of you that are interested also in the new additions for the JSON schema and the OpenAPI. So we'll take this feedback and we'll go with it in the issues. Thank you. Added here some resources in case you want to learn more about validating XML and JSON. We have here some video demonstrations for schematron validation, for validation scenarios, for working with modules if you want to learn more how you can create scenarios or to work with modules and use this in the scripting part. There are also some webinars here regarding to the comparison or to the scripting part. So thank you. I think we arrived to the questions part. So I'll give control to Aline to read some of the questions you already added, and if you have questions about the presentation, you can address them also. Now we have some time to respond to them. So
well,
thank you, Aline.
Thank you, Octavian, as well for your great presentation, for another great presentation. So we started this new year in full force. So as you previously mentioned, let's take a look in the questions panel. If you didn't get to ask your question, you still have time. You can do it right now. The first question came from Boris. When do you plan support for XProc 3.0 validation? And as my colleague Theo confirmed, it is already being worked on XProc 3.0 support. And it is possible that it will be available with the next Oxygen release. So there is a big possibility.
Yes, this depends also on the Calabash support and what they will do, because we use the Calabash engine to validate XProc, and depends on how when they will release this.
Thank you. Let's go to the next question. The next question is a long one. Could you expose this scripting tool as a REST API, similar to what you have done with a GitHub action with a valid Oxygen license? Could you expose or wrap the scripting capabilities as an API?
Yes, we have some plans to do this, and I think in the future we'll have a REST API to access this. Right now, we do not have, but we have in plan. So, thank you for your question. I will add a +1 to our issues, and we'll see what we can do.
Another question from Boris: Can I use my current Oxygen license key for GitHub Actions, or should I buy a new one?
You need a scripting license. So the Oxygen license does not work with the scripting support. You need the scripting license. You can take a trial first if you want to check it. There's a 30 days trial license that you can use it to see if works for you.
We have a lot of thank yous for your presentation, and as a feedback, excellent. I have a longer line of feedback from Ryan. Whoa, this is so incredibly amazing. My only request might be to have it in Oxygen instead of in a command line. Not sure what that looks like to me either. I will likely just have it incorporated into the program. So thank you, Ryan, for your feedback.
Yes, will be interesting, yes, to make the validation automatically on your project, maybe, and generate a report. Probably this can be done as a plugin and use the support that we provide in Oxygen. And yes, we can add this as a feature request to automatically generate a report directly in Oxygen.
Another question: if I want to generate a custom validation report, how can I do it?
You can start from one of the reports that we provide. So there are different type of reports that we provide, and for example, you can use the XML report and just customize the output using a style sheet. Or if you are working with JavaScript, then you can use the JSON report and customize it. Very easy to have the report as you want it.
Many thanks, Octavian, for a great presentation. John and Pasquale also commented, excellent presentation and content. So Octavian, it seems that you hit another home run with your presentation, with the first Oxygen presentation of the year. Another question: can I use the same validation associations as in Oxygen?
You can use the same validation association if you are specifying a project file. So if you specify as a scenario file, a project file, the scenarios associations from the project will be automatically used also for the scripting.
Another question: can the script be used to validate a directory or a file against more than one schema? I can offer an answer to this. Not directly. You must first create a validation scenario in Oxygen, in which you can easily specify several validation schemas. So save the scenario in a scenario file, and then the pair of arguments. For example, the scenario file or the scenario name can be used within the script to validate against all the schema specified in the respective scenario. Alternatively, multiple validation scenarios can be created in Oxygen, one for each validation schema you want to use. Once these scenarios are saved, the script syntax allows the scenario name argument to be supplied repeatedly, which is equivalent to validating successively against the schemas declared in each of the scenarios provided on the command line.
Yeah, I think it's a great answer. Yeah, you can specify the schemas, yes, directly in a scenario. All the schemas, you can add multiple validations in a validation scenario, and you can also specify in the command line multiple scenarios if you want to have different scenarios for each schema. So for example, you can say that you want to validate with the DITA scenario, but you can also add another -SN with another scenario, which is the DITA accessibility scenario. And then another one with some custom DITA rules, maybe. So you can add multiple -SN with the scenario name that you want to apply.
And our last question, can I run multiple transformation scenarios from a continuous integration server? For example, transform to HTML5, PDF, or EPUB?
You can run multiple transformation. You need to start multiple way the transformation. So you need to run the transformation script multiple times to generate this in multiple multiple formats.
Thank you. These were all the questions that we got until now. If you still have questions, feel free to use the questions panel, or you can use. I will take the control.
Okay.
Or you can use the feedback platform right on the event page, where you can address us your feedback or your questions regarding Octavian's presentation. I want to remind you that today's presentation was recorded, as we do with all of our live events, and tomorrow you will have the recording right on this same event page, and also on our YouTube channel, Oxygen XML.
Yes, you
Now,
can send also feedback on our support if you want. So we'll respond to you. If you want to test the GitHub templates, you can also address them the questions directly on the GitHub pages, and we'll respond to them.
yes, thank you. So let's go and take a look at our upcoming scheduled events. So if you thought that your PDF customization journey is finished, well, I have some amazing news, because on the 18th of January, meaning next Wednesday, Julian Lecor will be returning with the fourth part of his transforming DITA documents to PDF using CSS series. And this installment will be called Advanced CSS Rules. And it will target those of you who might be thinking about how can you control the change bars display, modify your PDF viewer behavior, or center and rotate your tables. And these are just a few examples that come to me of what you can expect next week. And from 2 Wednesdays from now, on the 25th of January, you will discover the new features included in the latest release of the Oxygen XML web author related to DITA map files editing, as well as other general enhancements that will improve your editing experience regardless of the edited document type. And as a presenter, we will have our colleague Bogdan Dumitru, and the name of the webinar will be What's New in Oxygen XML Web Author 25.0. Also, we encourage you to take a look at our events page, where you can also find the links to register for free to all of our future events. And in closing, I want to thank you all for being able to join us for our first live event of the year. You all have been great. I hope you had a great time as well, and that you enjoyed Octavian's presentation. Again, a big thank you to our today's presenter. Thank you, Octavian.
Thank you, Aline. Thank you, everybody, for attending. Thank you for all the team that work on this and work to have this feature in Oxygen.
And also a big thank you to our team that was behind the scenes answering to your questions in real time. Theo and Florin, that were behind the scenes to make sure that all of your questions were properly answered. As always, we have some great events ahead of us, and I hope that some of you will be able to join us again in the following weeks. Until next time, stay safe and have a great day or evening. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.